Welcome back to Papa's Old Chevy, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to revive burnt and or peeling clear coat with Poppys Patina. Let's go over what you're going to need real quick. It comes with the wipe on clear coat and the wax and grease remover. You may need a sander. I went to Harbor Freight and got a little $40 sander just to make life a little bit easier depending on the job. You're going to need some 1000 grit sandpaper and some 800 grit sandpaper. It also comes with some scuff pads. I like to get some extra applicator pads along with some extra microfiber towels, but it does come with towels to make life easier. In this video, we're going to be taking this F2 shitty and making her look extremely F2 pretty. If you look really closely, you can see the clear coat and how it's burnt over time, some places where it's peeling, and you can also see where some people have decided to spray paint over the vehicles to try and cover something up. I don't really know what the thought was there. If you even look real closely, you can see things growing in the paint because this thing has never been cleaned. So we're going to give it a stab at it, and we are going to try to make this thing pretty again with Poppys Patina. And like I said earlier, if you look real closely, you can see things actually growing in the paint. So step one is to wash this vehicle down. I decided to pressure wash this vehicle because it was so bad. It was a work truck, so, well, it's never been cleaned before. So instead of me putting my hands on it and scrubbing like a dog, I'm just gonna go ahead and spray it down until I can pretty much see blue paint everywhere. After you get all of that dirt out of the paint, go ahead and start with step two. We're going to go ahead and start with wet sanding. Now, I did have to use a sander on this along with wet sanding it by hand. So let's go over how both of those processes work. Now, most of you probably won't have to actually use the sander. You'll just be able to do this by hand. I do have another video of how to wet sand, an in-depth video that I've posted on my channel. Go ahead and take a look at that because that will give you a very, very in-depth look at what you need to be paying attention to. So as you can see, the spray paint that is actually on this door, it is coming off by hand. It's just a very slow process. So this is when we start with the Harbor Freight Special. We're gonna go ahead and start wet sanding with the actual sander. Now, to begin with, you can see it's still coming off very slowly. This is because I was not taking the sander off of the truck and actually cleaning the pad off and getting it unclogged. After I realized what I was doing, as you can see, I take this off extremely quick right here. This is when I changed methods. I decided to pull the sander off of the truck and spray down the actual pad multiple times after I did one or two passes, and then that would get the clogged paint and everything that is actually in the pad off, and it will be clean again to remove that layer of spray paint or whatever you were trying to remove. Now, like I said, you may or may not actually need to use a sander depending on how bad the clear coat is actually peeling or how bad it is actually burnt. Here, it was pretty burnt, but we didn't have much blue paint to work with because it's been baking in the sun for so long. So I decided to do this by hand and just wet sand it like normal. The wet sand process that we're doing in this video here, this is not going for perfect. We are just going for better than it was before. We're trying to make this F2 shitty, F2 pretty. Remember that. So what we're doing here is just trying to take a top layer of blue off. There wasn't very much to begin with. We were just trying to get a layer of oxidation off. This is the reason why we actually wet sand. As you can see on the left side, you can see the blue coming through. It's a lot brighter. And then on the right side, there's a lot of oxidation. And that leads us to our next step. We're actually going to scuff the surface again with the scuff pads provided by Poppys Patina. This is going to help the clear coat grab even better. Now, this is used to actually get some of the oxidation off, but wet sanding helps get the oxidation off a little bit quicker, and it makes your life a little bit easier. And this is what we're working with after all of that prep, running the pressure washer over it, wet sanding it, and scuffing it. And again, we weren't going for perfect, but as you can see, this thing already looks 10 times better. Now on to step 4. It's time to wipe on and wipe off the Poppys Patina wax and grease remover. This is going to make sure that the paint is extremely clean for the clear coat to be applied to. Whenever you're doing this, there's really not a whole lot to it. Just make sure that you get all of it off and make sure that the truck dries all the way before you apply the clear coat. Now for the moment that you've all been waiting for, it is time to apply the Poppys Patina Wipe On Gloss Clear Coat. The only thing I gotta say is make sure you got a couple of applicator pads on hand in case you hit a dirty spot and the pad gets dirty. Now, as you see, there's a water spot that is actually running down the door. Jesse came in and actually had to wipe that off with the wax and grease remover so that the wipe-on clear coat actually could stick to the door, because you don't want any water to get anywhere that you're about to apply this to. Now, this stuff is extremely user-friendly, so there's really not a whole lot of room for screwing up whenever you're doing this. If you get a run spot or if you hit a dirt spot, just grab that other applicator pad or run over it again. You've got about 45 seconds or so before it actually gets super sticky, and you can correct yourself and correct a mistake that may get made, because Lord knows you may actually press down on the pad too hard or something and get a couple of run marks. Just blend it all in really quick. And that's actually what I'm doing here now that I've covered the door and the back panel. I'm going back over and covering any spots that I missed or any spots that actually look like they may have ran. Side note, before you start applying the actual gloss coat, you may want to run some tape over the edges of the windows. It may help it make it a little bit cleaner when doing this. Also, you can run this over badging. Just make sure you cover the entire badge when doing this. It makes the badge look pretty damn good if you ask me. And right here, I actually saw a couple of run marks that were going through the truck, and I did not like it. But the pad, unfortunately, had already gotten dirty. So I caused a wipe mark, and I caused a few run marks, as you can see on the door. So right here, I'm actually swapping out pads, dipping it back in the clear coat, and I'm running back over it. You can actually see the run marks that I caused go away, and it looks 10 times better. So this stuff, like I said, is super user-friendly. Don't get too scared to use this. It's pretty awesome. So you may have noticed that it's starting to get dark. We started to run out of time. The best place to do this is going to be inside, somewhere that's not super hot, but you also do not want to do this in the sun. If you do this in the sun and in direct heat, then it's going to cure wrong, and if you mess up, you have a lot less time to fix whatever you messed up. So it's better to do this in the dark with a flashlight than it is anywhere else, but still be careful, because if the dew has already started to fall, you may run into problems with that as well. Cure time on this, honestly, it starts to cure within probably about a minute and a half, and you'll start to see a really, really good result. After about an hour, it's typically completely dry and it's good to go. And this is the aftermath of Poppys Patina, trying to revive some old, peeling, burnt clear coat. And again, we weren't going for perfect, we were just going for better than it was before. And I have to say, this thing made it look a hell of a whole lot better. We definitely made this F2 shitty look F2 pretty. And you can see there is a few places where you can still see peeling clear coat. This is all in the prep. If you want to try and get that completely out, go ahead and take some 800 grit sandpaper. You can use that sander and you can sand it down as much as you want. But for the most part, this is what we're left with, doing this super quick outside on a time schedule. And the turnout, absolutely amazing. You can find this kit on poppyspatina.com for only $140. Yep, just 140 bucks, and you can have your peeling and or burnt clear coat looking good again, and your vehicle can be shiny and you can love it. Remember to subscribe and drop a comment and let me know what you think.